Hello again, Stephen, and I guess I should say welcome to spring. I've never really been one to pay homage to the changing of the seasons, but in DC it's a bit hard to avoid. Because in DC this time of year means one thing: cherry blossoms. As someone at work pointed out to me last week, even though technically I live here for the time being, I am a tourist, and because of this unfortunate label, my attendance at the Cherry Blossom Festival is sort of mandatory. The cherry blossoms in DC form a stretch of blooming trees primarily surrounding the Tidal Basin, which is the water you're seeing whenever you see a picture of the Jefferson Memorial. This body of water is about 2 miles all the way around, and on that walk you can stop at the memorials for, like I said, Thomas Jefferson, as well as FDR, and Martin Luther King Jr. Each of these historical sites offers something unique in terms of design and style, and really complements the cherry blossoms in a different way. So anyone coming by for the trees really needs to make a stop at all of these monuments as well. So what's the big deal with all these trees? Well, we have to go back just over a century to start that story, or at least one of the most notable moments in the cherry blossoms history in America happened about 100 years ago, predating any of the monuments I just showed you. As far as I can tell, cherry trees did exist in the United States previously. Just to name one example, Thomas Jefferson is known to have planted cherry trees on the grounds of Monticello. But the moment I'm talking about took place in 1910 when the city of Tokyo donated 2,000 trees to Washington, D.C. as a gesture of mutual friendship between the two countries. Of course, these trees were found to be infested with insects and thus had to be burned, but Tokyo followed this up with a second donation of 3,000 trees 2 years later to make up for the faulty first batch. The first cherry blossoms were planted by First Lady Taft along the Tidal Basin in 1912, and then the first official festival to celebrate the blooming of the trees was held in 1934. Now, the chapter of the story that I was curious to look into was World War II. With the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, I wondered how the American public would react with this sort of prominent, glaring symbol of Japanese culture in the nation's capital. Turns out, as you might expect, the reaction was less than favorable. 4 trees were cut down, which was attributed to retaliatory vandalism, and there was a movement to destroy the entire population of cherry blossoms with plans to plant American trees as replacements. The National Park Service was able to avoid mass arboreal genocide by referring to the cherry blossoms as Oriental instead of Japanese. Of course, the name was changed back a couple of years later. The festival resumed in 1947, and it continues to this day. Now that I have been to see the cherry blossoms for a solid 2 days, I feel like somewhat of an expert, so allow me to offer one little bit of advice. When you go on a weekday. We went on a Tuesday and a Friday, and I'm considering Friday to be part of the weekend. I mean, the Cherry Blossom Festival is a celebration of nature, the monuments, the past, the water. All of this is meant to create an experience, a tranquil space to walk through, enjoy the peace and the sights, and spend time reflecting. This experience is basically non-existent on the weekend just because of the sheer volume of the crowds. You're bumping elbows with people everywhere you go. I'm not complaining because obviously just my being there is contributing to the overcrowdedness, but I'm just pointing out how different the festival looks when you cut down the visitors by about 60%. Our trip on Tuesday was incredible. The trees were beautiful, there was a slight breeze causing the petals to fall off the trees. It was truly special, and hopefully you were able to catch a glimpse of that in my video today. Thank you for listening, Stephen, and I'll talk to you later.